Hi, 6th graders, I hope you've been doing well. Today we are going to work on our lesson for 4.4. 4.4 is all about multiplying fractions. So our learning target is I can multiply using fractions. Alright, here's the deal. Adding and subtracting fractions can kind of be confusing because you need to get common denominators. But multiplying fractions is by far the easiest with fractions because you don't need to get common denominators. You just have to multiply. If you're pretty good at multiplying, or if you know how to use a multiplication chart, this should be pretty simple for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started then. We are going to work on two examples of how to multiply fractions by modeling. Alright, so our first one is 1/3 times 1/2. So here's what we want to do. We're going to pretend this is our box. Okay, we're going to divide this up into thirds. Okay, our first number is 1/3. So pick a color and let's split this up into thirds. Ooh, do the best you can. That was definitely not equal, but that's okay. Alright, and then we are going to color how many of these third boxes? Right, we're going to color one of them, so just quickly shade it in. I'm actually going to use a highlighter to shade it in. Alright, so we're done with our first fraction. Now we need to cut our box in half because our next fraction is 1/2. Okay, so go ahead and cut it in half the opposite way. So for 1/3 I went vertically, now I'm going horizontally. Alright, and then we need to color in one of those halves. Alright, I'm going to change colors. Here's my 1/2. Now do you notice that I have one box that they both are colored in at? That's my answer. Okay, so when I write this, I have one colored in. How many total boxes do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our answer is 1/6. Awesome, let's go on to number 2 then. This time we have 3/5 times 2/3. So our first fraction is 3/5, which means we need to divide this box into fifths. Okay, so do your best. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite even, but I did the best that I could. Okay, and we're going to color in 3 of those boxes. Alright, so go ahead and shade it in. Now our second fraction is 2/3, so we're going to go the opposite way now when we cut our box into thirds. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. Now, how many are we coloring? Right, we're coloring 2 of those. So here's 1/3, there's 2/3. Alright, so now count how many we have colored all the way. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the way colored. How many total pieces do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 6 over 15, and we know we can divide both those numbers by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So 2/5 is our answer. Alright, if that didn't quite make sense, don't worry, I'm going to explain it more as we get going. So our vocab box, to multiply fractions, you simply multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So let's look at this. We're taking 2/5 times 3/4. Okay, we multiply our numerators, 2 times 3. And then we multiply our denominators, 5 times 4. Alright, and then go ahead and multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 4 is 20. And that's your answer. We can simplify that, we know, but that's our answer when we multiply. Alright, and then just to write it in letters, if our fraction is a over b times c over d, we take a times c over b times d, and we get a times c all over b times d. Alright, let's practice some of these. I love multiplying fractions. Here we go. So we multiply straight across, okay? So we're taking 1 times 3 all over 2 times 5. 1 times 3 is just 3. 2 times 5 is 10. Can we simplify 3 over 10? No, we cannot. So our answer is simply 3 over 10. Not too bad. Alright, moving on to the next one. We're taking 1/3 times 3/4. So again, we multiply 1 times 3 all over 3 times 4. Okay, 1 times 3 is just 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Now we can simplify that fraction. We can divide both numbers by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 1/4 is our answer. Alright, I hope you're starting to catch on. Let's move on to number 3. We're taking 2/3 times 5/6. So again, our numerator, we take 2 times 5, and our denominator, we take 3 times 6. So when we multiply that out, 2 times 5 gives us 10. 3 times 6 gives us 18. We can divide both of those numbers by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And that is our answer. Alright, if you're starting to catch on, I want you to try 4, 5, and 6 on your own and then come back. Alright, so we're taking 2/3 times 6. Uh-oh, 6 isn't a fraction. Anyone know how to make 6 a fraction? All you have to do is put it over 1. So we're really taking 2/3 times 6 over 1, which is the exact same thing as 6. Okay, let's go ahead and multiply straight across. We take 2 times 6 all over 3 times 1. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. 12 divided by 3 gives us 4. And that is our answer. Let's practice another one. This time we're taking 3/4 times 5. So again, to make 5 a fraction, you just put it under 1. Okay, so we're really taking 3/4 times 5 over 1. So our numerator is 3 times 5. Our denominator is 4 times 1. 3 times 5 is simply just 15. 4 times 1 is 4. Alright, and then we can change that to a mixed number. 4 fits inside 15 3 times. 4 times 3 is 12. And we're left with 3. So our answer is 3 and 3 left over out of 4. So 3 and 3/4. Alright, and our last example of these ones, we're taking 3 times 1/2. Again, to make 3 a fraction, you just put it over 1. So we're really taking 3 over 1 times 1 over 2. And then our numerator is 3 times 1 all over 1 times 2. Alright, 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. And we can simplify that because 2 fits inside 3 one time, and we get 1 left over. So 1 and 1/2. Alright, I hope those 6 problems made sense. I hope you started catching on pretty quickly. I think multiplying fractions is way easier than adding and subtracting them. Alright, so moving on to our last set. We can simplify our answers before we multiply. That way, at the end, we don't need to simplify. So here's how we would do it. Okay, so let's look at our first one. 3/4 times 5/6. So what we do is we look across like the butterfly method. 3 and 6. Could I divide both 3 and 6 by something? Yeah, I could divide both of these by 3. Okay, so let me rewrite this. 3 divided by 3 is just 1. And then 6 divided by 3 is just 2. So I simplified those two numbers. Okay, now let's look at our second set of numbers. We have 5 and 4. Could we divide both 4 and 5 by something? The only number I can think of dividing them by is just 1, which would be the exact same thing. So we're going to keep those two the same. Okay, so now let's multiply across. We're taking 1 times 5 all over 4 times 2. 1 times 5 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. Alright, now I want to show you if I didn't simplify beforehand, I would get the exact same thing. I would just need to simplify my answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply these out. We take 3 times 5 all over 4 times 6. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 6 is 24. If you notice, these aren't the same yet. That's because we can divide this by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Those two fractions are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter if you simplify beforehand or afterhand or afterwards. Okay, so 5 over 8 is our answer. Moving on to number 2. This time we have 3/5 times 10 over 1. So again, we do the butterfly method. Can I simplify both 3 and 1? Could we divide both of those numbers by something? Right, we can't. So our 3 and 1 are going to stay exactly the same. Okay, now let's check our 5 and our 10. Could we divide 5 and 10 by something? By the same number? Yeah, we could. We could divide both of those numbers by 5. Alright, 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So now let's go ahead and multiply. We're taking 3 times 2 on the top, 1 times 1 on the bottom. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 divided by 1 is just 6. And if you didn't simplify beforehand, you would get the exact same thing when you simplify afterwards. Alright, moving on to number 3. This time we have 5/6 times 9/10. We can simplify this beforehand. Let's look at our 5 and our 10. We just did a 5 and a 10. We can divide both of those numbers by 5. And then let's rewrite our fractions. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Alright, now let's look at our second set of numbers. We're taking 9 and 6. Could we divide both of those numbers by something? Right, we could divide both of them by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Alright, so then when we multiply, we're taking 3 times 1 on the top, all over 2 times 2 on the bottom. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. We can't simplify that anymore. That is our answer. Perfect. I hope you started getting the hang of multiplying fractions, and I hope that went pretty well for you. If it didn't, please send me a message on Schoology, and I will get you the help that you need. Have a great rest of your day, 6th graders.